We're finding 5 times the level of chlorine in the water in Jax Beach. What are some of the other things you're finding when you're testing people's water?
E. coli and other forms of coliform bacteria and high levels of iron, sulfate. I looked up inside into this, essentially just a chase or a cavity, and I saw nothing but black soot.
These people built their dream home not even knowing that their home could kill them. The air comes in one side of the air handler, goes through a coil, comes out cold, gets distributed. That air handler is a cold, wet, dark place. Hey, so when did we meet?
We met in, I think it was July of 2014 we met.
July of 2014. So you were?
I was 19 years old.
19 years old.
19 years old, fresh out of high school. Moved here with my girlfriend at the time, which is not my wife, and we had a baby on the way. So I moved here from Georgia to start a career and really just to provide for my family and kind of get my foot, out into the workforce.
How old are you now?
I'm 30.
30.
30 years old.
So 11 years of experience. What is one of the big takeaways of being in the HVAC market for you?
One of the biggest takeaways would be providing value and helping people resolve complex problems. And it's one of the industries that's very rewarding. So as much as you put into it is as much as you'll ultimately get out of it. It's a very complicated field, but it's worth every bit of time and energy they put into it. And for all those reasons is why I keep going and I love it.
Yeah, so 11 years of experience, 30 years old. A lot of people don't know what you know.
Yeah.
And how you got to where you're at. I mean, you started at 19,
right?
Not knowing anything.
Yeah, just a general laborer, pretty much doing ductwork.
Yeah, and when you came into our company, I was really big in building science.
You were, yeah.
So there's all these big homes being built in Ponte Vedra, and just everybody was doing it wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe not necessarily too much of wrong. I think they were just doing and installing projects just a very conventional way and really losing the aspect of more of a custom cut when it comes to homes because not every home's the exact same. So I don't think the standard installation method or the standard practice or procedures working on HVAC units or designing systems applies into every house.
So when you say every house, like I have this big joke, a bunch of people from the Northeast who build homes came down to the Southeast,
right, and
built the exact same home.
Right. Yeah.
You can't build that house down here.
You cannot.
You can, but you run into the problems that we're having now.
That's right. You do.
And I remember one of the big problems we had was convincing people to spray foam their attic.
Yeah. Now it's almost like a common practice.
Yeah, and people were trying to ventilate their attic to get their ductwork to stop sweating.
Correct. A spray foam attic. Ventilating a spray foam attic.
Oh yeah, even worse.
Yeah.
And we can talk more about why you spray foam attics, but one of the things that happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago is the energy department started getting involved in the efficiency of these units.
Right.
And so can you explain a little bit, like when the efficiency of the air conditioner goes up, meaning the less electricity it uses, what happens to the air conditioning system when that happens?
So typically, whenever we look at energy efficiency in HVAC units, we want them to be able to heat your house quickly and also cool your house quickly. The downside of that is that we start to lose runtime out of the systems. So there's a correlation between runtime of equipment and the amount of moisture that's removed during that process of the air conditioning cycle.
So the longer it runs,
yeah,
the more
moisture.
Yeah, the more the air is going to move in the house.
Right. Better humidity control.
Yeah, it's going to remove more humidity out of the air. But now that these air conditioning systems are more efficient, they're not removing the humidity.
Yeah, and I feel like in order for them to get the efficiency to come up on these mechanical systems, they had to very tightly pack the fins on the cooling coils. So not only is that the air is moving quicker through the coils, but it's even more difficult for moisture to condense on the coils and to get removed through the drain line and the condensate system.
Yeah, so it's just the efficiency goes up, yep, and the dehumidification goes down.
Typically goes down. Right.
Yeah. So the other thing that we were running into is these efficient units. You get the air a lot colder,
It is.
a lot faster.
Right.
So we were running into all these issues where all these homes had all this ductwork sweating all over the place. And over the past 10 years, the spray foamed attic has become in vogue, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like it's accepted.
Yep.
Like a spray foamed house. But 15 years ago, it was a giant argument to be able to convince the customer, hey, like what you have going on here is a twofold effect. We got these energy efficient units that are coming out, and we have a ventilated attic. And there's so many of these homes in our market right now that are built this way.
Yep.
And if I went into 1,000 homes in Jacksonville, I would say less than 1% of them have a spray foam attic.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and so when you spray foam the attic, you bring the ductwork inside the conditioned space.
Yep.
When you don't have a spray foam attic, you essentially have your ductwork in 140 degrees.
Correct.
When you have a spray foam attic, you're in what,
like 80 to 90 degrees typically.
Yes.
Yeah. So whenever you have your conventional type of blown-in or back sheet of fiberglass insulation, it's all laid across the ceiling, the drywall, or the attic plane. So whenever you have your ductwork, the ductwork goes up above the thermal envelope, and then obviously the air goes back into your home. With spray foam, the approach is that we take the thermal envelope and then raise it up above the ductwork. So now anything that's below the spray foam, below the roof decking, is considered your semi-conditioned space and within the thermal envelope of the home.
So Steve got involved with our company when we were really figuring this out. Didn't know anything. I would like to say you got started off on the right foot.
Yeah, I like to think so.
So let's talk a little bit about your education.
Okay.
So first 4 years, bottom of the barrel,
right,
install work, but we're doing these really cool jobs.
Yeah.
We're going into brand new homes and fixing them.
Yep.
And fixing the thermal barrier, fixing the envelope. You're working real closely with me and Kyle and Jimmy at the time. We meet this really fantastic mechanical engineer named Steve Griffin.
Yes.
And Steve Griffin,
what a guy.
Yeah, it took us through so many projects. We learned so much. You really worked very closely with Steve on a lot of the projects over the next 10 years.
For sure.
Pretty much nothing we haven't seen yet. I mean, we don't know what we haven't seen yet, but we've seen a lot.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Seen a great deal of problems. I mean, really all across the board, anything you can name. I mean, it's absolutely incredible the amount of poor craftsmanship and workmanship that's been put into not only existing homes but even new custom built houses that we see today on the market.
Yeah, and then you had that 10 years of experience. The last 5 years really working with a mechanical engineer. We don't want to leave out Krishna. Krishna was working with Steve at the time.
Correct, huge asset.
Krishna and Steve still both here in Northeast Florida. They're running all over the United States, fixing issues with construction. But then you decided to take it just a little bit farther.
I did, yeah. So for the most part, I ventured and got deeper into the mechanical aspect of the homes and be more involved in the custom detail of mechanical systems, ductwork design, and all the ventilation aspects when it comes to the conditioned space and really just the build quality of the home when it comes to just making the house feel comfortable while maintaining building sustainability and optimum indoor air quality. And
then you went and got a certification.
I did.
Yeah. What's the name of that?
I'm a state licensed mold assessor and indoor environmentalist.
Okay. Indoor environmentalist.
Yes.
So from not knowing anything 10 years ago to one of the few indoor environmentalists in the state of Florida.
That's correct.
Okay. If somebody really wants to fix their indoor air quality problem, can you do it?
I certainly can. It's not difficult at all. Just got to have an open eye and be willing to have a little bit of common sense and patience.
So when you first come into a home, what are the things you use the most when you first come into a home?
I'll say senses, your eyes, your nose, your hearing. You don't really need any special tools to look at the basics and the principles of the home structure and the way the home is configured.
So coming out and doing a visual inspection based on your knowledge, pretty much free.
Correct.
We're happy to do that for any of our D360 members. To go to the next level, to find out really what's going on, Our next steps are what? A blower door,
That's one of them.
thermal imaging in the home,
Yep. Use an infrared camera.
air sampling in the home.
Yep. With a spore trap air sampling to gather any viable or non-viable mold spores that are in the air. And also any particulates that may be floating in the air, such as skin cells, pollen, formaldehyde, and any other VOCs that are commonly found inside the home.
And I don't know if we have a picture of this, and maybe we can pull it up for whoever's watching, but the picture of this device, and how long does that run?
So that the spore trap air sampling runs for about 10 minutes on average, depending on the home and what we got going on, but 10 minutes is usually the go around. Sampling at 15 liters per minute, so a total of 75 milliliters is sampled.
So basically you're putting this device in the home.
Yeah.
It's sampling the air.
Correct.
And what type of results are you going to get on something like that?
So we send these samples off to a lab down in South Florida, and they examine the cassettes that we send to them at 600 times magnification. And from there, they're able to identify all types of genuses of mold spores or any other particulates that are found and captured on essentially just a sticky piece of tape inside the cassette.
Yeah.
And then from there, they give us a lab certified and doctor approved report of everything that was found during the sampling in the time and place that we took it.
So if you're worried about what's in the air, you can figure out what it is.
Without a doubt.
Okay. And then the next step is leaving back like some type of data analog device for a couple days.
Yeah.
So we can figure out like what the humidity is doing in the home, what the temperature is doing in the home over maybe like a 5-day period.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
So I use Hobo data loggers, and essentially they Hobo is a brand, but they are able to log temperature, relative humidity, and also CO2. So we can see how well the home is either A, ventilating, or B, how humid or how uncomfortable the house is getting at all points in times of the day while the occupants are living or sleeping.
Perfect. You know, you come out, you've been in hundreds of homes, you're able to do a consultation based on your experience at no charge for our D360 members.
Yeah.
They want to take the next step. It costs money. That depends on the size of the house. You talk with them about that. Then we come up with a game plan to fix the problem.
Correct.
Some of the things that we have found are absolutely crazy. Let's talk about yesterday. What's today? April 18th?
18th or 19th?
So we found this yesterday on the 17th.
Yep. Correct.
Okay. So what did we find?
So essentially we found a gas fireplace flue pipe that is going through a spray foamed attic, going up through a chimney chase. But whenever we looked at the pipe going up into the chimney chase, it actually was not connected to the downpipe that was coming from the roof cap on the roof.
So you have a home, you got a spray foamed attic,
Yeah.
You got a chimney
Yep.
that's exhausting into the attic.
Essentially, that's all it was.
And how'd you find it?
So whenever I was inspecting and doing my analysis and investigation in the attic, I basically just saw a black ring around the flue pipe that was going through the spray foam. And that's kind of alarming. And I went over there and pulled away the insulation. And when I looked up inside into this, essentially just a chase or a cavity, and I saw nothing but black soot, carbon monoxide sensors were going off.
So you go up in the attic, you see something that doesn't look right.
Right.
You're investigating a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're seeing burnt stuff.
Yep. All in the attic.
You're seeing a bunch of places where there looked like it was a fire in the attic.
Right.
How old was this home?
Home was about 4 to 5 years old.
4 to 5 years old.
Yep, a fairly new construction house. It wasn't that old.
So one of the things we're finding is a lot of these newer homes have very serious problems because they're building the homes tighter. So you're not able to get like air changes through the home.
That's right.
So if you do have a mold problem, a carbon monoxide problem, it's more of an issue.
It is, yeah.
It's a 4-year-old home. These people built their dream home and not even knowing that their home could kill them.
That's right.
If they would have been using their fireplace a lot more, I mean, typically low-level carbon monoxide poisoning leads to like migraines.
Correct. Lethargic.
Yeah, autoimmune things can happen in your life. Like so, like everybody's like eating right and doing all this exercise. I got to get my protein count up, but you're not even really thinking about what could be going on in the home.
No.
Yeah, and it's so important.
It is.
I mean, it really is.
I really feel like whenever we're living in our home, we're obviously we're coming back to our most comfortable place that we could ever imagine, and so I think we take into assumption that everything in the home, as far as AC goes, we walk in and we feel cold air and assume that everything's okay. But when we think about all these other appliances and how they're vented that are, gas burning, wood burning, or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of things that are required for those appliances to be safely in your home, and you may not know it, but they're actually not designed or installed properly.
Once you tighten this house up, like, you got let's say you have a northeast wind blowing on it,
Yeah.
and then none of your appliances are venting correctly, and the carbon monoxide can be coming back in the home. I want to touch on something a little bit simpler.
Okay.
You have an air handler. The air handler moves the air in the house. And you know that the air comes in one side of the air handler, it goes through a coil, comes out cold, gets distributed. That air handler is a cold, wet, dark place.
Yes.
Perfect for mold to grow. If I was to go into 100 homes, I would say less than 5% of them have any type of sanitation device inside this air handler.
Yeah, UV lights, air scrubbers, or really just as simple as just a decent and good air filter inside the unit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hotbed for all kinds of mold and mildew to grow that is being spread through the house. Why not keep that air handler sanitized?
Yeah, I think when it comes to all the air in the home, it only makes sense to make sure that the device that's delivering and providing comfort in your home is clean and is free of any kind of dust or potential microbial growth or bacteria that's laying on those coils.
One other topic. Got a new home, it's getting like to the 8th or 9th year of age. And all of a sudden it's not working the way it used to. Like something has changed. You go there and do the consultation. Some of the things you find is, well, it was running great until you decided to put this extra vanity in, or your Comcast guys decided to run this cable. And some of the things we've seen in the attic, like some of the things plumbers have done, and we're in the plumbing business also, but we teach our plumbers as best we can, but they will go and change the building envelope. And when they change the building envelope, the entire house works differently.
It does.
And the one picture you sent me where they had brand new plumbing installed and all of the insulation on the walls had been taken off.
Oh, yeah.
And not put back up.
Yep, they did a whole repipe in the house. So whenever they had to run all the new water pipes in the house, they had to go through all the thermal envelope and the insulation, and that's okay for them to go in there and to get all the work done. But the biggest thing is putting the insulation or those moisture barriers back into place so the customer doesn't start. The customer doesn't start to have any kind of moisture or mold issues coming from attic air or outside air coming into their home.
Yeah, it seems like it's most common when we have a second story.
Yeah, in the subfloor.
Yeah,
whenever you have attic air going in between the floors.
It seems like it exacerbates the problem when you have a second story.
Yeah, it really does. Or in another aspect, it leaves more room and more potential for issues to come out and arise just from doing regular routine maintenance or doing repairs in your home. There's just more room, more margin for error whenever you have a larger home.
Hey, so what do you think you could be doing better for the customer right now? I know that's a hard question for me to ask you, but like you're in here doing it, and like sometimes I feel like you go into somebody's home and you explain it to them, and they don't understand the importance.
Right.
How do you handle that? Like, what are you doing to get better at that?
So, yeah, I definitely agree. And I think it does get the best of me that I tend to lean more on the technical side of things. And, one thing I really want to work on is keeping things really simple. I live by the acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And in reality, all of these things that may or may not be ongoing inside of someone's home, it's really simple and things that you can fairly understand with a little bit of knowledge.
It might be simple to you.
Yeah.
And when you go and explain it to the customer, you're explaining to them on a high technical level.
Right.
And probably a challenge you're having is being able to explain it where they can understand it.
Sure.
And that I could see where that could be difficult. Steve, I want to ask you one more thing. You're really big on indoor air quality.
Right.
You're really big on quality on the installation of the products. You can fix anything. You've seen it all. Here recently, we started talking about water. We're finding 5 times the allowable limit of water in Jacksonville Beach. of chlorine in the water, and we're mostly finding in that area. What are some of the other things you're finding when you're testing people's water?
One of the worst things that we see typically in well water is E. coli and other forms of coliform bacteria and high levels of iron, sulfate.
Glyphosate we're finding in the water.
Yep.
There's once again, we try to cater this to where it's easy for our customers. We have a test that we come out and do that measures the amount of chlorine, the alkalinity,
Yep.
the total dissolvable solids.
Correct.
And we will come out and do this in your home for free. The next step, if you want to really know what's in the water, and everybody should probably do this once, is you take a water sample, you send it in. It's about $250.
Correct.
We send it off to the lab. They send it back to us. We know exactly what's in the water at that point.
We do. It's pretty much a full comprehensive water analysis, looking at not only the total dissolved solids or the iron content, but we're also looking at any kind of bacteria or anything that's harmful in the water that could be not so beneficial to your health.
I just think it's just absolutely crazy that, our utility company pumps the water out of the aquifer, puts it in a big tank, fills it with a bunch of chlorine, tests it to their standards, shoots it down this long pipe. Some of the sections are old, some of the sections are new, some of the sections are leaking. And then it comes into your home and you drink it and bathe in it.
It blows my mind on how, whenever it comes to the conventional municipality water treatment process, and how little that really goes into just providing potable water for us to have and use in our home. And whenever we look at that water and bathe in it, drinking it, we cook in it, we clean our house with it, it only makes sense to have the best water possible being used in the home.
Yeah, and what the funny thing is if you have a water issue, like they had one in Nocatee the other day, and they were like, you are under a boil water alert. Okay, so let's think about this. So the water's going to come into your home. You're supposed to be boiling it. If it's high in chlorine, that makes the chlorine more toxic. So think about this. You're going to make your kids noodles for dinner.
Right.
And you already have high chlorine content in the water, aka all of Jack's Beach.
Oh, that's actually a really good point.
And you're cooking noodles. All that chlorine is sucking into the noodles, and you're feeding it to your family.
Oh man, it's horrible. It's absolutely, it blows my mind on just what the common water treatment process is like, and how every day we could kind of take this water that's being pumped to our homes for granted, and not really taking consideration on what kind of adverse health effects that just the common water that comes out of your tap can do to our bodies.
Steve, I really appreciate you being on my team.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
It's been a journey.
It really has.
What, 11 years together?
11 years.
Yeah, buddy. I love you,
It's
dude.
been fun.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir.